All right. Thanks. Wow, good turnout. Good show. Glad you all could join us online. Let us know if we ignore you. We don't intend to, but we'll try to include everybody here. Yeah, our goal tonight is to figure out what's next, but what we thought we would do is present what we're thinking of as kind of ways folks could be involved. What are the different roles? You don't necessarily have to go, right? There's a lot of other roles that we need to have played in this process. So we want to try to describe those in some detail without going into too much depth. It's going to be hard not to, but we'll see. Is that right? Is that what we said? We decided the other night? Okay. So we thought we'd start just by everybody saying their name and giving us just a sentence of what, hey Mary Lee.
Hi.
What do you think what interests you, what you've heard so far, or what motivates you about perhaps being involved with this? If everybody could share just a sentence, that would be great. We'll start with the folks in the room and we'll make Tim go first. How's that?
That's not fair.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, actually, we want them, if you had, what question do you have about AMOS or Nicaragua or the mission plan and those? And my question, I guess, maybe is too broad, but kind of, well, can we do this? Can we make it happen? So, within, what is it, year and a half now, or less than that? Yeah, year and a half, I guess, to summer.
Are you writing these down, David?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure somebody was.
Well, it's being recorded too.
Yeah, I know, but.
And let me make sure I back off. I said the wrong question. That's the question we're going to address later. The question is, what question perhaps do you have now? I'm sorry. That's the question we're going to ask later in our discussion. But right now, it's do you have a question about what this is all about? David, do you want to say anything?
I'm David, and obviously, I guess my question is there enough people interested in this whole commitment? Because it's more than just the trip. It's a bigger commitment than that. It's a financial commitment as well. And I guess that would be my question. My questions about AMOS, I have lots, but not directed here. But
Keep going around. Susan, do you want to chime in? I know we're catching everybody off without much preparation here.
The question I have is one that Christina also had, but I don't know if it's relevant to this group. Can I go ahead and throw it out there?
Sure.
So does AMOS get permission from the families to show the pictures of the kids?
yes,
Okay,
yes, I can address all that too.
okay.
Yes,
And they've given us permission.
we can use anything
Yes.
that's on there.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have it in writing.
Yes.
So, good, so we have permission from AMOS, AMOS has permission from the families. That's what we just wanted to make sure that we weren't,
Sure.
exploiting the kids or families or, Thank you.
Does AMOS have permission from the government to exist? Or are we going to be in danger?
I think AMOS would not exist if they didn't have permission from the government. And maybe, David, you have more of an accurate feel for this than I do. But the government actually, I think, really loves AMOS because they're doing work that the government doesn't have to worry about or do in the rural areas, which is so time consuming because you have to walk a lot. And financially then, so I think the government loves AMOS.
They actually are partnered with the government health system.
One of the recent hires, I think, came from the government healthcare system.
Actually, two of them did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, they work very closely with the government, both as a nonprofit organization, because even though they're 501c here in the US, they still have to comply to all the Nicaraguan rules and regulations and all that kind of good stuff, and they are partners with the government health system.
Well, and they're actually internationally recognized model community health program.
Yeah,
I mean, they present it all over the world.
yeah, they do.
And is AMOS affiliated with any particular denomination here in the States?
They originally began as through the First Baptist Church there in Nicaragua. I don't know that they still, most of their churches that support them are still American Baptist churches. But they do go out to other denominations as well. Pretty much, I would say they're pretty much ecumenical. They're on their campus and the different religions of all their staff and stuff like that, so.
And do they have a evangelistic or teaching or training mission along with medical
For religion?
or everything? And what's the scope of their focus?
Their scope of their focus is medical, is health related. Now that being said, several of their staff are pastors and they ask to pray, and every time they go into someone's home and anytime somebody comes to the clinic, the doctors will ask if they can pray with them. But evangelism as in you have to be a Christian is not their top priority.
I was just thinking more about the organization that I went and spent a week with in Guatemala was, they had a clinic and did some minor surgeries there and had a pharmacy and had clinic hours and medical staff
Right.
there. But they also had a second mission, which was training of people, Christians, who wanted to go back to their own people and tell the gospel. And so there was a lot of teaching. They had several certificates that people earned. They had graduation ceremonies. They also had programs for children who were mentally handicapped, training programs, because the government didn't want anything to do with them. And they had a milk program for underweight babies. So they had like a multi-part mission, and when I go in, I am not a medic. And so that's kind of why I was asking, in what way do we minister if we aren't medical types?
Well, I wasn't medical type either, but, and it all depends. Usually you go to do a project, and so that's what you're going for, is to work on that project in that community, whether it's fixing the health promoter's facility, or whether it's putting in latrines, or whether it's the water program right now. I mean, the water filters right now, that's what they're focused on. They have several other areas too. And if you are trained in the medical thing, they find many other things for you to do while you're there. Like when I was there, one of the gals that was with us was a diabetic instructor, or whatever you call those, I don't know what you call them.
Nutritionists.
Yeah, but it's focusing on diabetic, and so she did a workshop with the people. And then the other one was a psychologist, so she did a workshop with people. While we were all playing with the kids, they were doing that with the adults, because that's what their skill set was. I mean, they'll find something for you depending on your skill set. You will always have something to do. Their government actually does a really pretty good job of taking care of the citizens health-wise. I mean, that's part of their partnership with AMOS, so they can reach the people that they can't reach, but they do have a pretty decent system So it's not, I mean, there's poverty, but it's not like when we went to Haiti, when the government was very suppressive. They do a little bit better job at taking care of their people.
Are most of the projects that Americans or outsiders are sent on, are they city projects or are they rural projects?
Most of them are rural, but they do have city projects too, so, and, I mean, we're getting,
Yeah, we'll
let's
probably get.
go back to introducing. I'm sorry. You should have said something, I just have to glance
I
over
think
there.
this is good.
They're good, they're good
Yeah,
questions,
good
we don't, we wanna come back to
questions.
them.
We'll come back to those.
Sorry, I'm.
No,
It's a question.
that's good. No, those are really, really legitimate and good questions. Most of their stuff is rural. They focus on the rural. They do have 2 urban clinics though. And so there could be some work in there. And of course, they have their own campus that sometimes needs some help. So if there's a group that's down there that would not physically be able to go out in the rural area for, whatever reason, there's plenty for them to do elsewhere. So.
Great questions.
Thanks.
Well, we don't wanna
going.
shut down the questions.
Yeah, keep
We,
going.
but we'll, how about we finish this off and then we'll come back, okay? So
Okay.
don't lose.
So this was, for questions, this was not why we're interested, right?
Yeah, right. Just-
Okay, this is questions.
But we're gonna, don't,
Why we're interested is what we want to know.
Oh,
do you wanna say anything?
That's a different answer.
Well, why are you interested?
Because of my previous experience, and we were actually in danger crossing into, like, going through customs. We were praying really, really hard, and we could have had our bags confiscated, and I don't know if they would have thrown us in jail. That probably would have been an incident. But I felt very, very handicapped by not being able to speak Spanish, and I'd like a chance to speak and improve, and hopefully not embarrass myself too badly. So.
Annis, do you wanna say anything?
I think the only thing that I keep going back to, how can we learn from AMOS and use their model in Lawrence? I just really feel like there's some opportunities. I've read the article in the paper today about the nursing partners that, I don't know if y'all read that in the Journal World, where it was talking about they now have a program in the cardiac care, and I think in oncology too, that they partner you up with a nurse navigator that sort of follows you along. And I thought, that's close to what AMOS does in some ways with its community health promoters. And I keep thinking there's got to be a linkage between what AMOS does and what Heartland does. And I don't know what that linkage is, but I still want to explore that at some point.
Any burning questions over here?
Yeah, I mean,
all have been there.
right, I mean, I think for me, it's less, it's kind of like Tim's questions more, instead of what is Amos like, what is Nicaragua like? I mean, we've done that, but the question of how does this fit with where our church is right now? How does it fit with other ministries right now? How does it fit with other financial, or do we do a capital campaign in the next few years at the same time as we're raising money for Nicaragua, right? Those are the kind of questions that I have, the bigger church-wide things, how it fits in. Not that we might answer those tonight, but those are kind of the things that I'm listening for in the bigger picture.
I'm just listening. I'm just here to listen.
Okay,
I haven't
great.
really decided on anything. I mean, I was set to go last time and maybe, but I'm just here to listen.
Let's hear from the online folks. Let's pick on Matthew Johnston. Is he, you want to share any burning question you have, Matthew, or pass? Or did we lose him to the football game? Yep,
There he is.
No, I'm back. You lost me to the making dinner thing. Unfortunately, I have to do that every day. Yeah, so I don't have any questions or anything. I was part of the leadership team, round one of this. But I don't know. I think personally, I think a little bit of interest has dwindled since then. But I'm not close to going. It's just it's still somewhat interested, but not 100%. So again, I'm here just to listen in, see, get more information, and see kind of where conversations are headed.
Great, thanks. Jim or Melissa, are you there? Or, yeah,
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I may also making dinner, but no, I'm pretty interested in going. Wasn't not going to be able to go last time, um, but it's shaping up to be. I'll probably plan my summer and everything around this if it's 2025. So, I don't see any problems going, and I possibly will get Caleb or you have some interest. Andrew might be interested, so but I'm pretty strongly interested and committed to going.
wonderful. John, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, the question that I have, I'm interested in ways that I can be supportive. I don't think I'm overly interested in going, but I'm interested in ways to be supportive. But I'm also wondering if, sometimes some of our smaller churches in the region would love to have this kind of experience, but do not have the wherewithal to put it all together. So I'm wondering if there are ways that we can partner with some of our other churches to enable some of their members to join with us and have this kind of learning experience.
Interesting perspective. Thanks, John. That's great. Nancy, are you there? Would you like to?
I am here and no questions, just wanting to hear what's being said tonight.
Great. Thanks.
What did Matthew put in the chat?
Matthew put
question, John.
Yeah, he liked John's question. So. Mary Lee, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I had another, in my darker moments, sometimes it seems to be Monday morning. I have questions about whether it is wise for me as an American that they would humor when I speak, and a white person who's also not very big and not very strong, if I would be better used by giving my money and not going and committing some other funds, for a capital campaign if we need it here. I'm just wondering about the economics of small, not strong English speakers to this project.
I can almost hear David's answer right now to that, but I think she'll answer that when she talks, right?
I can answer that one.
I think it's a great point, but I think what you need to think about is there's many opportunities. It's not just going or financial. We think there's other ways to be involved.
Well, that's a realistic concern.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been to other countries, that's a realistic concern. Yeah. But I'll address that a little bit.
So I guess I'll add my question. My question is more, how do we, and I like to think long-term on this. I like to think that this isn't about 1 year, 2 year, but this is about a way of thinking in our congregation for the next 30 years. And it starts with the youth. I really would like to see our youth engaged in this. That's my passion. So I would like to see how we can do that. David did a wonderful job the other day at the mentor meal, and the kids got to see all the yucky things in the water, and things that they never think about, right? They turn on the water, it's clean, it's good, right? And so it's so important for them personally as well as their mindsets in this congregation. So what we're going to do now is David's going to describe one way of being involved, and that's obviously going, right? Being an emissary. She's going to what does that all entail? I'm gonna talk about a little bit of the financial stuff. Dennis is gonna talk about communication and
Education.
knowledge and understanding, so that we don't just go there as ugly Americans, but we go there intelligent and knowledgeable about what this is, as well as what is water quality, if we are dealing with water quality. And Tim's gonna talk about more of the spiritual aspect, prayer. So, David, you wanna start us off with?
Sure. I'll address your question right off the bat. Two of the ladies that were with us, one was 60, one was 62, and one was your size. And I will just say that AMOS does a fantastic job at supporting and encouraging and finding things for each person to do. And there was always somebody with every person who can't speak Spanish. We had some good times. And you know, if you don't speak it well or you don't speak it at all, you need to go in with an attitude that this is going to be an interesting and fun communication. And the AMOS staff were phenomenal. I can't say enough about their staff. I was totally and utterly impressed. In the lines of going, I mean, other than your normal immunizations and having a passport, the flight down there is really quick and easy. Going through passport check and customs was really easy. You know, and those are things that we would go through. They have a training session of like 8 different workshops that you have to do prior to coming.
8?
I think it was 8 or 10 or something like that. I don't know.
That's new, we didn't.
Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
didn't have that.
So, well, they did that with us, but that's what we were doing. Matthew and I were doing those when we were getting ready to go to
Yeah.
Nicaragua the last time.
So this is the IM stuff then?
Well,
Not AMOS specific?
probably you're right. It's probably IM stuff,
Uh-huh.
but it's based on Nicaragua.
Okay,
I mean, they do
okay.
them based on your
They-
location that you're going. And
Contextualized.
so
Good.
all those kind of things, talking about what to bring and what not to bring, the expectations,
Yeah.
about going through customs and going through passport check and all that kind of stuff is stuff we would address in those workshops. And those workshops are really great to get a better perspective of why you really want to be going on this mission trip. There's some good questions and good hard questions and thought-provoking questions in there. So that, I mean, to really know, to figure out why personally you want to be going on this trip. And what those expectations are and what you want to see and all that kind of stuff. Safety-wise, I never once felt uncomfortable. I may not be a good judge of that because I'm not a overly cautious person to begin with. But I never once felt uncomfortable, and neither did anybody else in our group, not once, in the country. I mean, when we were out sightseeing and out in the communities and all that kind of stuff, we never felt uncomfortable.
Well, I'd say just a little bit more about that, and Christy has said that if there is any concern about risk or instability going on in the region, probably we'll just stay in the city. I mean, they'll keep us safe.
Right.
Yeah, whatever they need to do, but, so if things change, you know, the
While
way
we're
things
there.
are now, we don't expect to have any problems at all. But if things would change, they're certainly ready to keep us safe. Yeah.
In the lines of what we do while we're there, I mean, like right now, they're just focusing on the water filters systems. And so you go to the community, you get to go to people's homes and get to meet the people. You get to install the water filters in there. And yes, there is a ton of paperwork they have to fill out in order to get these filters. And one of them is to release pictures of their children and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's part of the paperwork that they brought. I carried the backpack full of paperwork. So we get to go to the communities, go to their their places and see their homes and see, you know, just their whole village and meet people, and which is phenomenal. And then usually in the afternoon, they have, wherever you're staying at, they have people come they do stuff with the adults. Mostly it's just women, because most of the men are at work. And then we get to play with the kids for a couple hours, which is always so fun, and the kids are hilarious. Just don't be offended. Because they think it's hilarious the way you talk Spanish, or if you can't speak Spanish, or if they just think it's hilarious. But they're more than willing to teach you. If you ask them what's this, they'll tell you in Spanish what it is. And then they want to tell you all kinds of things. I mean, they're very eager to spend time with you and teach you, as well as you spending time with them. That's one of their favorite parts about when delegations come, is to just spend time playing with the kids. Food-wise, it was pretty normal food. I mean, it wasn't anything weird. It wasn't American food, but it wasn't.
Your stomach was good?
My stomach was good, but I like beans, so.
And rice.
And rice. Plantains, chicken, pork, eggs. It was pretty bland. I mean, it wasn't anything weird. All the stuff that I had cooked those few times, that's not normal food. At least not for crowds. So I have different menus now. Much easier. I mean, you can buy those kind of things on the streets and stuff. They're very cautious about that when you're out visiting the homes, not to take fresh food. Bananas, fruits, all that kind of stuff, because you don't know how well it's been handled. And then, you know, on your fun day that you get to go sightseeing and stuff, they will take you to a restaurant, but it's a vetted restaurant. So, and we did, and it was good.
Practically, it's 10 days.
Yeah, 2 of those 10 days are travel.
A day on the front and a day on the back.
Mhm.
And your first day then is spent in Managua?
Yeah, the first 2 days, because you usually come on Friday, and so Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, they take you in close there in Managua and look at their, I would compare it to, and this is typical practice now, I would compare it to Washington DC Monument Park. It's got all their monuments of their history. It was pretty fascinating. So it's just for a few hours. And some orientations. One of the first things to orientate you is on earthquakes, because they have several fault lines right there, and they rumble a lot. Nothing's ever really too bad, but they'll go through all the safety procedures for that and for fire. And then usually then on Sunday is getting everything ready to go out on the out to the wherever you're going to go, the community, getting the buckets ready and some training. The training they did with us, this was the first time they've ever done that, and out of all of us that were there, they got a really good feedback on that was something that, I mean, we all believe that was something they should do with every delegation team that comes down, because it gave a whole lot more in depth of what they do and who AMOS is, and then you spend a day traveling there, you spend 3 days working and a day traveling back, and then you have a fun day on Saturday, and that's an all-day thing, and then you leave on Sunday.
And when are we thinking of the next trip? Are we thinking 2024, 2025?
Well, I think 2025 is more realistic, you know, it's about $2,500, so it takes some planning. At this point, unless something really weird happens in my life, I'm gonna go back, and next summer, I'll just jump on another delegation team. There's gonna be one going back to the same village where we were to do some checks and stuff, and so I'm gonna try and jump in on that one.
So others could go
Yeah,
in
others could go.
2024, if that would be,
Yeah,
It wouldn't
you know,
be
I
our
traveled by
delegation.
myself, which was probably the biggest stressor for me,
Say that
traveling into another country that I didn't know the language. And I was all by myself, but it was fine. It was fun.
And the other thing I think you've mentioned is that we don't have to necessarily take up the entire delegation. We could have 4 or 5 of us go, right? And
Oh,
join
yeah.
up with another group. Or
Yeah, we can either meet up with another group, or they can find something for just a small group to do. I mean, they don't have any criteria, well, they have a maximum. Although they have had some pretty big groups, like 20 people, that's hard to coordinate. They usually split them up, but.
Yeah.
We took 30.
You took what?
30. Oh, and then they have to split them up,
Right, exactly.
because
Yeah.
it's too
It's
many
basically
people.
two.
I mean,
We
ideally,
had 12.
8
Yeah.
to 12 is the ideal size.
do we want to have our group? Is that better? Is that ideal, that it would just be us and us alone? Or do you not have feelings about that?
Well, I mean, and that really would depend on your personality. Because you truly are out of your comfort zone. And so
another group,
if you're with other people who don't know how you react and those are some of the things they go through in those training sessions too, is how do you react under stress and under this kind of stress, so that your team knows how to respond to each other. And so if you're going with another group, there's some potential there. And that just depends on your personality as to how you respond to other people. I mean, I don't have personal space, and I'm out of my comfort zone, I guess. And I think that stems from so many years being around teenagers. You
Well,
just don't have it.
The other logistic thing I think about that is, like if we brought in other folks from the region, for example, we wanna kind of coordinate, what does that look like if we did some of the training beforehand?
Right, they would need to join.
How do they join in? How do they connect with us? If we're doing fundraisers together, how do they connect? How do they, those kind of logistic things, but I think it's doable, and I like the model, especially if here in Lawrence, we could probably even do some in-person stuff with somebody that may wanna go from Ottawa or Kansas City area or Topeka or something, so.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. But,
Good.
I mean, it truly, you're sleeping on a cot with a mosquito net, you may or may not have a toilet.
We just lost Jim, because Jim has to have comforts in life.
And
Such a pretty
you may
guy.
or may not have a shower, it just depends, you may be
It's
sponge
sounding more and more
bathing
inviting, right, Jim?
it. It just depends on where
What?
your location is.
We were
So-
just commenting how much luxury you have to have when you go on your vacations. So we're
Oh,
joking.
trust me, don't worry about me. I've done days without showers before if I have to.
And so, those are realistic things that you need to be thinking about, nothing, no building or seal.
Right.
Maybe in the city they are, and when you get outside the city, the way the walls come up and the roofs come down, they're all open for ventilation. Most things, they may have a decorative, wrought iron thing in there, but no screen, on most of their windows and doors and stuff like that. And so if those kind of things are gonna weigh you out, you need to be aware of that before you go.
What's the altitude of most of the country?
Um,
Is it mountainous or is it pretty much at sea level?
Well, down in Managua, it's at sea level, but up in the mountains, I
all
think
of
it
it.
was 5, 4,
I
5.
don't remember, I can't remember.
I think it's 5, I think we
do
looked all
meters
that
and
up.
not feet, so I can't remember. But yeah, I think it's like 4,000 or 5,000, but it goes up pretty quick. I mean, that's from sea level, so Monagua's at sea level, and so it shoots up pretty quick. And it's kind of like, it's California coast, right? It's similar
Sure.
to all the west coast, because it's on
Yeah.
the west coast of Nicaragua. So
What's dry season there?
Dry season is from November to March. They usually start getting rain in April.
Is that when we go?
Well, I would prefer to go in the rainy season
Because of all the mosquitoes we get
because you don't have mosquitoes.
during the rainy
It's
season.
because it's raining.
Is that because there's no stagnant water? Is
Well,
that-
no, it's just that it's raining, so the mosquitoes can't fly.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it tends to be a little bit cooler.
In the rainy
It's
season?
still lots of humid, but a little
okay.
bit cooler. I mean, the rain cools you off, but I don't mind being out in rain. I mean, we were trekking around out in rain.
Were you there in the rainy season?
Yeah, well, yeah, it poured.
So
I
you
mean-
were in late July, early August, right?
Yes.
And you,
I went in mid-March,
It was
Was
pretty
it
hot,
dry?
it was pretty hot and dry.
Good.
dry and hot.
dry and hot.
Yeah, so it's your preference of whether you like heat and humidity or moisture and a little bit cooler in humidity.
So
And
wet
some
and
of the
humid
cooler was because you were
or.
in the mountains. I mean, that's what.
Right, we were up in the mountains and so it was a little bit, I mean, you're
We
talking,
weren't.
it was 85 degrees
Uh-huh.
and raining.
Is our assumption, however, that we would go in the summer because that's when people would be mostly available? As opposed to spring break, it's gonna be pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Well,
a
They had to
big,
make special arrangements to make a short trip.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
it's,
it wasn't 10 days.
And so, you know, I think those are decisions that need to be made based on who wants to go,
yeah.
and what their availability is.
Well, yeah, and what groups they have already scheduled.
Yeah,
Okay.
Did you wear repellent most of the time? Just
I
put,
did, and, you know, I never wear bug repellent ever, because I don't react to any mosquitoes or anything, but I did because I didn't want to get dengue fever.
exactly. Do they have much Zika?
Huh?
Do they have much Zika? Or is it mostly dengue?
Not even really in the dengue either. It's only in certain little regions where they have outbreaks of that.
Okay.
So,
you take malaria pills, but I don't know that
Yeah.
there's a ton of malaria.
no, the malaria is only in one little area too. She told me it was an option whether but.
I was gonna
Chrissy,
say, do you even have to take them?
You don't
Oh,
have
Maybe
to,
not anymore.
but
You used to have to.
the CDC recommends it.
Oh, okay. Well,
But some of that would depend on what area you're going in. Like where we were going, Christy said that it was optional because there hasn't been any cases there for a while. But, you know, it depends on what risk you want to take.
David, did you have to get any vaccinations?
No, matter of fact, they had lifted like 2 days before we were flying out that you didn't even have to show your COVID card anymore. Prior to that, you had to have it with your passport. They suggest that you have the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccine, because those are two big vaccines that they use there as well, so that you're not bringing that stuff in and, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't know.
They still require tetanus?
No, but you'd be dumb not to have tetanus.
Right.
I mean,
in the US.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just in-
I get my tetanus shot every 10 years, so.
Yeah, right.
Well, but I guess I'm always in areas where I could easily hurt myself, so,
Well, and if you're around little kids, they pair it with pertussis.
yeah.
So it's just wise to keep it every 10 years, yeah.
I don't know that they have anything that's absolutely required anymore. They just have those that they suggest, and the CDC suggests quite a bit. Tetanus is one of those that the CDC suggests, so.
All right, how about we keep moving?
Yep.
Is that all right? Fundraising. First, the cost to go, you said was 2,500?
About 25, I mean, if you don't already have your passport, you're gonna have that cost in there.
Which is 140-ish or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Depending on the size of our group would depend on whether we need to bring stuff or not, or if they have other groups there at the same time, like the mosquito net, so they have some.
So you might have some supplies to get
But
before.
you might have some supplies. I would always, you can always bring your own rain boots, but if we go in the rainy seasons, I would just suggest you buy them down there. They're $10 and they'll go out and get them and bring them back for you. That way you don't have to worry about getting them all cleaned off, because you can't take them back on the plane if they have any kind of dirt or mud on.
So on the fundraising aspect, what we don't want to have happen is that this be a trip for the elite, right? We want to make it accessible.
And we heard that pretty loudly and clearly in our Sunday school class visits.
Yeah. So how to do that, what we thought of was, could we, just throwing out numbers there, thinking out, okay, could we offset the cost of everyone going by $1,000 if they need assistance? Some may not need assistance, others will. To try to get that cost down to $1,500. Still a large commitment, obviously. But if you throw that out, if you say, okay, could we provide 10 scholarships every other year of $1,000, so that'd be a $5,000 annual commitment. And then on top of that, could we out of our 21,000 tithe that we allocated, we have given 10,000 already to AMOS, the organization. We've given 6,000 to Christie. So and we're going to give 2,500 to Christie over the next 2 years. So that comes up to 21,000. So the thought was, well, we'd like to continue an annual gift to AMOS and an annual gift to Christie. And if we just thought off the top of our heads of 2,500 to both Christie and to AMOS, that'd be another 5,000. So could we just wrap this up and say, could we have a goal of $10,000 a year? Now, the idea is not that we've made any of those decisions, but these are some of the thought processes that we would like to have a fundraising couple people think about. And then how do you do that without jeopardizing giving to the general fund? And could we perhaps embed this in the budget? I don't have any idea. I'm not part of those discussions at all. And then setting a goal, and then what are our avenues? How do we raise that kind of money without going back to the same folks with the same requests all the time? Lots of questions. So there's a lot of things to be involved with in fundraising besides just getting out your checkbook. It's also thinking about how we do this and how we go about this.
I'm wondering what John Williams is thinking. He was smiling.
You can't smile.
Comment, John?
Never smile.
Oh, he turned his camera. Okay.
I'm gonna get into big trouble. I just turned to Connie and asked if she wanted to volunteer to make cinnamon rolls, like she did with our youth groups in Garden City years ago. And she gave me really dirty looks and said, my cinnamon roll days are well over.
We'd like to know whether that's really the case.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of different
Well,
ways.
I have a question about that, or possibly a recommendation. So if we are doing fundraising in order to then also give it to AMOS or Christie, I wonder if because now we're basically a middleman of getting money to them. So I'm wondering if we don't raise money specifically, but also somehow partner with them to just do more of an initiative of give to these people and have people give directly to them rather than putting it in a pot that we have that goes to them. I just feel like it would be more streamlined, and I think easier for people to, here's another way to give rather than, kind of putting it in our budget to give to them.
Here's my 2 cents for what it's worth. And I liken it to a little bit to when I worked at the National Auctioneers Association. We raised money for St. Jude. Now, you can give money all day long to St. Jude directly, but by giving it through NAA, it allowed us to put a message around that said, see, this is something we are doing on your behalf. And people liked knowing that it was going through us to go directly to St. Jude. It was almost like a gatekeeper kind of role. The thing that I think we lose, Matthew, when we don't involve the church is we don't involve our ability to engage with our parishioners, with our congregants in that way. And I think that's something that we really want to try to get people to understand, that they are giving that. And I go back to what y'all heard with in Danny Trent's class,
Just gonna say that.
where he said, if we're not doing international missions, we're really not doing mission work.
It takes
You
all
know,
missions.
it takes all of
local,
that,
region,
yeah.
and international
Yeah,
to be a mission church.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we need to continue to talk about. We started off on this thinking that if we chose AMOS because they were such a data-driven organization, that maybe by the time we got to the point where we were thinking about a capital campaign for the church, that we would be able to say, if we pay off the mortgage, if we're able to raise enough funds to pay off the mortgage, then that gives us, what do we think, $40,000 a year that goes back into the operating expenses of the church. 30?
I don't remember.
I remember
Enough.
almost 40,000,
Yeah.
yeah. And if we took 10 of that and said, this is our money that we are sending to Amos and we are sending to Christie, then all we're doing at that point is fundraising for the $5,000 a year for a $1,000 scholarship for 10 people every other year. And that to me is pretty doable. I mean, I think back to when y'all were raising money years ago with teenagers to go on these mission trips, and there was always money there for that. I mean, and if we tie it to the young people, I think there's a way to package it to where people feel really good about their gifts to FBC Lawrence.
Well, and I think that the missions teams has talked about, this is my impression of joining in on that this is just part of who we are. Just like Family Promise, just like the food pantry, just like, Harvesters, it's just part of who we are. Is this AMOS is incorporated in that, and so it should be just part of our missions,
Our
here
DNA.
at Bethel. Yeah.
We're not gonna solve it tonight,
No.
right? The idea is, this is another avenue, and it's not just giving, it's also strategizing and figuring out the best way to do this, so let's keep moving.
Okay.
Communications, we've really worked hard, I think, over the last, since, May, June, when we started talking about this, to really keep going back to the congregation and saying, okay, here's what we're doing, what are you thinking? What are your questions? How do we know we're in the right? And I think we're getting there, and we've done, thank you to Susan for spending time with us on getting things onto the website. I think we're in a good place now. We know what to do and how to do it. And so we're there, but we still have a lot of work to do with the communications. And it's because we want those questions. We want to know what people are thinking and what people need to know to be able to make those kind of decisions. So, when we think in terms of things that need to be done, we think about communications continually to the church, but also education in terms of, and forming these partnerships that can perhaps extend our reach into other avenues. And now, John, you've given us another challenge that I hadn't even thought about, going into other churches, but we have the blog already set up on the website so that if someone wants to come in and understand FBC's journey and through this partnership, it would be very easy for them to go to the website and go to AMOS Partnership, and you can see our blog chronologically of what we've been doing. So hopefully that would help us if we go out to other church groups.
And the other aspect of communication, which you have done so well in the last few weeks, is in the newsletter, you've been writing in from, this is truly understanding who AMOS is, right? And I think that's one of the other aspects of communication, right? Is we wanted somebody to.
We still have lots of questions though, and so we need to take these questions and continue to funnel the answers.
So we need somebody who's willing to work on that.
But it's kind of like the purple team. What we thought of was, it's an analogy, is the purple team of Earthworks is read the Parahone book, beginning to end. Give us some background on Christian missions and what went wrong and what went right. All those things too, and communicate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work there.
A lot of work there, a lot of work in terms of identifying fundraising opportunities, a lot of work in terms of figuring out logistics. So I think that's one of the things that, as David and Tim and Steve and I have met over the last few months, that, I think if there's a way to enlarge this group, it would be helpful.
Anyone online want to venture a comment here, or should we keep moving? All right.
I'm kind of learning about this whole thing.
I didn't know if Matthew wanted to jump in on the purple team or whether he's making his purple.
Yeah, I can add that book to the list for next year.
Expand out of just Earthworks type of focus.
Well, I mean, I think it relates. I think what the Parahone model is absolutely a kind of ecology sensitive model for healing. I mean, they're very clear and very aware of what's. I've not read the book, so I can't say how specific the book is. But I would not be surprised if it wouldn't be a great fit for talking about kind of ecology, caring for all of God's creatures. I mean, it's a kind of environmentally sensitive.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, and, about community health in general includes environment.
Right.
I think there is an overlap there.
Okay, Tim, do you want to talk about the other spiritual aspect?
Well, I have a question. Did you go to church while you were there?
We did not.
Did not?
No.
So they're backsliding?
But that's not normal, right? I mean, the plan is normally for a Sunday.
I think that they normally go to church on Sunday, but because they were doing all of that training with their staff as well as with us.
Okay.
Just logistically wise, they couldn't fit it in, because it was brought up by almost all of us of going to church. But normally they do.
Because I think part of the training can be done, like if it's just our delegation,
right?
A lot of the stuff can be that you did on day 1 and day 2 would be done before.
Right. They actually have all of the videos now that delegation teams can have and do on their own before they come.
Right.
So
I bet we have someone in this church that speaks Spanish.
We have several.
Yeah. That would help us learn.
Right.
Yes. So who's fluent in Spanish in the church?
Well, doesn't Brandon speak Spanish, doesn't he?
I think he's working on it. He's another one of us that's working on it.
Trina.
Oh, okay.
Trina is fluent.
Somebody else was, because they told me to go ask. Who was that?
Trina Tinsley just joined this week, Jax's mom. 8:38.
Cool. Gee, we need to practice on her.
Yeah. Keep going.
Okay.
Brandon is learning Spanish.
Yeah, that's what okay.
Well, we can all join Duolingo, and we have a year and a half.
Babel.
Or Babel, yes, to get prepared. One spiritual element, of course, and I think the Parahone model is very holistic. But our own spiritual well-being in preparation from this viewpoint is kind of where we are. And I'm wanting to develop, I'm wanting actually the whole church to be praying. for this growing this mission, hope, plan that we have. And I would like for, and hopefully a number of people will step up to be whatever we want to call them, prayer partners, I guess, that will privately pray regularly for our mission trip. And we can all discipline ourselves to do that, be in that group. I think at some point, and probably before too long, we would like to, in a moment for mission, and ask the congregation for that or offer them to join. One of the things I remember about our trip to Haiti, the first time, is that wonderful, magnificent, inspiring send-off that we got when, I don't know how big the circle was. It's a big circle, 20 people at least, I think, were here, including the 11 of us that went and 9 others, including some elderly women who we had no idea were praying for us, but they showed up.
No doubt.
Yeah.
was there.
She will be there again, I feel.
Yeah. And so that, that's the kind of strength that this church has that I think will enable and empower us to make this happen. And so we want to be very aware of that and proactive and kind of get that going. So I guess the main kind of conclusion we want to discuss tonight is there a consensus that this is a go? Are we going to be able, do we want to do the work to make this happen, I guess, is kind of where we are. And I was hearing from everyone that is expressing an interest. So, yes, go ahead, Steve.
No, I mean, I guess that's David's original question, right? Do we have enough critical mass to make this happen? We've outlined a lot of work. There's a lot of roles to play, and you can't just play one. You may have to play 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And what we as a missions ministries are a little concerned about is that, we need to get this off the ground, but we can't just be the missions team. It's got to be a congregation effort. So that's what we wanted to throw out all these different roles and see if folks were interested in perhaps.
Is there some way to survey people, like anonymously, like 3 or 4 questions on a Survey Monkey or something? Where you can get their true and honest interest, like on a scale of 1 to 5 or what, I don't know, whatever. How interested are you in our church doing this? How willing are you to be in one of these capacities?
Because there's a big difference between interest and willing.
There is. Well, and it would be a way to be anonymous, so for now.
Right. I was pleasantly encouraged.
I have a Survey Monkey.
Yeah, I was pleasantly encouraged when I went to each of the Sunday school classes. I mean, that was.
It was a really.
I don't know whose idea that was, but that was hands down the best thing we could have done.
What was it, Dave?
Going to the Sunday school classes to talk about this. I don't know whose idea it was, but.
Lee Carlson.
I mean, it was phenomenal because every Sunday school class had a completely different perspective and a completely different questions, and it was good.
So I have a question. I mean, I think we want to do it right away, but at some point in the next year anyway, that we go back to the adult Sunday school and youth, I guess, and to stay connected with them, or maybe we want to do it sooner to try to continually build interest. We have our little cards that we've already did one round of people expressing interest. So it's kind of, your idea is kind of a continuation of that, but I do think we have to do reiterations of inquiry and promotion and gathering to build our mission, international mission.
That's that communications team. Who wants to be on there?
Back to Kimberly's question though, how do you say? Do we need to have sufficient critical mass to move forward? Or is it okay to be a small group with limited fundraising and limited communication? I guess, I mean.
Well, with John's idea,
Yeah,
which
right.
we all like, I think if we are a small group, we just need to
Incorporate another small
join
group.
another group. And I'm wondering, I'd be willing to follow through with that. And I think starting probably with the region, or should I contact churches, do you think?
Well, so I'd reverse that. I think you're absolutely right. I think with John's idea, that becomes our kind of backboard, right? So I think we say, we're setting a date, this is what we're doing, this is the first Travis Lawrence trip, sign up on the dotted line by this date. If we have 12 people that can go and 9 people sign up, then we go to the region then and say we need 3 more spots. Because the last thing you want to do is all of a sudden now you've got
30 people.
right, and we're saying,
true,
yeah, we'll organize
true, yeah,
all
we
your
don't
mission trips for you.
Overkill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that at the region level with youth, and they said, oh, okay, you're organizing a trip for 1 or 2 of our kids. Well, here's 9 of ours. Thanks for organizing our mission trip this summer. And so we just want to be thoughtful about because that becomes, like I said, the backboard to whatever we don't have. Now, if we fill our max, if they say 15 is our max and we've got 15 people that want to go, then we don't go to the region. But if there's 15 and we have 6, then that's the number we go to the region with.
How many did we have signed up the last time in 2020 when we were still planning to go?
I think there was
David, do you
like 10 or
remember?
12 of us.
Yeah, I
The
think,
McFeeders,
10 or 11.
Okay.
12.
12 sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, I know we had 12 that went to Haiti, and I was thinking it was pretty much the same number.
Yeah, it was about the same size.
Yeah.
What's the max that
I
Amos
don't
said?
know that they really say a max, but ideally,
So we're not divided though.
right, ideally, it'd be
That's right.
8 to 15 to stay in one group. They really don't want anything less than they prefer, 10 is their sweet spot. 10 to 12 is their sweet spot.
okay.
So y'all are suggesting, what I'm hearing then is y'all are suggesting we continue to work on this, focus more on the trip and find dates in 2025 so we get some level of commitment. What about Susan's idea, or Kimberly's idea rather, of the survey? Do you think that's something that we need? Do you think it's?
I mean, you could put the dates in there, the specifics,
Yeah, I
so
think
it
that
would inform people
dovetails
more
together.
fully.
Yeah, say, I wanna go in June of 2025.
Or
I wanna be involved in fundraising work.
Mhm.
I wanna be a prayer partner. Give them
Well,
concrete options.
We've already got it online. It's already there.
It
it's,
is,
yeah, we do that.
but
but
it's not anonymous. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only piece that's missing
Well, we
there.
need
But
to
there
know
is
who
a
the-
survey there?
Just a-
There's a survey.
Well,
It's
it's
a-
the card, it's the
Yeah, it
form.
just says, let me see. I
It's-
can tell you
Oh,
what
it's
it
just,
just like
oh,
this.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Does it have all the options on
although this doesn't check mark those options.
Yeah.
There's a survey on the,
We can do that, I mean, that's easy
Yeah.
to do.
I mean, is
but-
there
but we
something?
need to direct people to that. And because we can keep setting these meetings.
it? Amos in his form.
Because I know a couple people who said they were interested in going that aren't here, probably because they couldn't come tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
doing something like that, oh, there you go. That allows, can Jenny send that
I
out?
can't see that.
And
We can
send
put it
it
in
out.
the newsletter, we can
Maybe
put it.
guys
in
the
the-
one where it says.
It's been in the
but it can
newsletter a
continue
couple
to be in the
times, yeah.
newsletter.
And you're gonna have early adapters that show up to meetings
Yeah.
like this, and then you're gonna have kind of mid adapters that when they get a date and they're talking about this with
Yeah,
their Sunday
I
school
think the
class and their
date
friends are
helped.
going, okay, I'll go. And then you're gonna have somebody about 2 months beforehand that says
Can I
there's
still
still room to go. Exactly, right? I mean, it's like a youth trip, exactly, I think it's a youth trip.
I do think a date might help on that,
Mhm.
solidify, participate when, like that might help get
Well,
more
and I think
official.
once we go once, that's gonna trickle down to fill in all the rest of this stuff that we're working so hard on prior to the
I think the
communication.
date changes the energy level.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to work towards.
Well, and so when maybe we have the date, put that on the
Right,
form.
right.
Yeah.
And then make a push for getting the form out there again.
So do we want to request June 2025 with Christie?
I can do that,
Okay.
I can ask
Who
her.
is Christie, the,
The missionary.
Christina Lafferty, she is the IM, missionary that works with AMOS.
got it.
And so she kind of coordinates all the stuff for those kind of trips and stuff. I mean, there's lots of people that coordinate, but
That'd be late June.
So is
What?
AMOS headquartered in Managua?
yes. In Old Managua.
I kind of think mid-June, just to avoid vacation Bible school and like the end of school in case there's some overlap of school ending, some stuff. So maybe not like early June.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any way on that too, that we could even put what would be some hindrances to you coming? Like maybe people would be willing to say, yeah, I can't afford this, or I'm afraid about this or this.
That's
Some-
an excellent. That's an excellent.
Some
because there-
things that we could address.
We did have someone in a Sunday school class that said they would love to go, but they wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
So.
You can add a text field that they can type
Okay.
stuff like that into.
Okay.
Well, and I like Steve's idea of saying, how much can we subsidize for everybody? And then potentially we do some scholarships for other folks. To say, I can't even do the 1,500.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I can contribute, but there's probably other folks in the congregation that would want to do that. would
Is
want
it,
to help that.
did we do that for Haiti? Did we do that? Were we doing that the last time for Nicaragua?
I don't remember.
I think there was someone who went to Haiti that someone financially supported.
Okay.
But I don't know that we got that from Nicaragua.
Well,
I can't remember.
I mean, we
So
were close.
if we have seed money, so to speak, what's the possibility of doing some kind of matching? You know, as far as if someone gives a donation, maybe the church matches it. I don't know if that would work.
John brought up in
Yeah.
the text, in the chat, I saw
I
his
saw it, I
comment
can't find the
about,
chat now, where's the chat?
yeah, where could we
Yeah, Zoom has 40
potentially
options.
look at grants for,
Maybe up in the very, very top.
for.
How about we just ask John to speak?
Mhm.
John, do you want to say something about perhaps grant money? Do you have
Yeah,
experience?
quick sharing.
Well, I don't have any experience with that. I just raised it as a question and thought maybe some of you might have some knowledge of agencies that would have an interest in helping mission groups go to different countries. So I think it would be worth some research.
Okay.
Wouldn't IM be able to help us with that, I think?
I think that would be a good first place to start asking.
Yep, that's the first thing to do is you want to register the trip with IM because they'll help with travel insurance.
Oh,
They'll help with organizing. They'll send us all the modules for the
Yeah, because
training.
I mean, even when I went by myself, I registered with IM so that that's where, although I couldn't get my trip insurance because they didn't have any more to give out.
Oh,
They are limited on that.
well, but if we're 18 months in advance, then.
Yeah, I mean, I got mine for next to nothing anyway,
Yeah.
and it was comparable. They suggested who I go
Uh-huh, yeah.
to. So,
So we need to clear a time with Christie and then contact IM and say, this is when we want to go? Or plan to go?
Probably, yeah. I mean, we don't want to go get in front of Amos on this.
Yeah,
And she
right.
might be able to direct you to on what to do next.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name, Adam?
Adam will be here in the spring.
Kylie is willing to help write the grant.
So that's the other thing.
He's our
Great.
contact person.
Yes, Adam is our contact. Well, he is their new
Yeah, grant would be good.
employee
There's a
for
lot of like
raising
grants would be good.
financial awareness.
Oh,
They've
okay.
lost a lot of donors because churches have closed and all that kind of stuff from COVID and attrition and all that kind of stuff. And so he works in the US for that. And so he
We know
will
when.
come in the spring. He's working on his calendar now.
Okay.
He's yeah, because I just talked to him the other day, or emailed him the other day, we were
Okay, good.
emailing him,
Thank
so.
So let me circle back. What we're saying is that the practical next step is to actually nail down a time when we want to go for our first trip, without settling all these other things about financial stuff and all that. We're just
gonna do it.
That is, we'll get the ball rolling on other things, we think.
Yeah.
Okay?
June
Well,
15th
'cause
is a Friday.
First off, that gives you a group of people to work on that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're going, you gotta work on that stuff.
However, we
So-
don't want this to be we don't want that group to do everything. We want
Correct,
this-
but it'll give us a start, and
Kylie's willing to help write the grant.
We don't know if Matthew asked Kylie. We're hoping so.
Kylie told me to write that in the chat. It is.
Yay, thank you, Kylie.
Maybe I'm pushing my luck, Matthew, but how comfortable is Kylie with Spanish?
I only know a small amount of Italian,
Oh, okay.
Close
but
enough.
I was remembering that you had some Spanish experience too. Okay,
no, my dad does, but I wouldn't say he's fluent anymore.
okay.
We live in Lawrence, Kansas,
We'll
the
find
home of the
somebody.
Jayhawks. There is a Spanish and Portuguese department on
Yeah.
there. In Wesco Hall, there will be someone we can.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
you can take
there's
a
a
class.
speaking club,
Yeah.
conversation club.
Yes, so we will
Oh,
get that
okay.
taken care
oh,
of.
I could audit a
We
class.
found this
Oh, you
the
know, that
last
costs
time we were
$100,
planning,
$150
The last time we were planning
Per
to
credit
go,
hour.
but
To audit.
Plymouth
to audit.
congregation
Not if you're
has
over
Spanish courses.
Well, no,
There's level 1, 2, and 3.
not quite there, I'm close.
Yeah,
I don't know
Sorry,
what
folks
that
online,
is.
there's a lot of side conversations right now.
okay.
There's
Well,
$75.
About
What-
Spanish class.
I think we have enough to move forward on. We want to invite everybody to all the missions meetings going forward, so I think we have some marching orders, don't we?
I mean, you could have another one closer to a final decision, like after church when people are
Yeah.
here.
Right. Yeah. It's harder to come back and
We had originally planned this to follow the Halloween, so we'd help again.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that
And
makes
that got
sense.
Well, of
moved.
course, if you offer food, I'm just saying, food's the best
If
bribery
you
ever.
do a trip kickoff fundraiser lunch,
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, well, we would do that, but,
yeah,
I
and
mean,
just kind of package it together and then have your cards and have everything on the table. And then there's just something about it. I mean, this is back to Matthew's point. Wouldn't it be easier if we just told people to give to Amos? Yes, but there's just something about the
Yeah.
synergy and the energy of a trip that people get on board. We don't want to make that the only thing. We've decided over the last year or so on this, that if it's just about a trip, then we've missed the boat. But there's an energy around it that people get on board with, and so.
Well, and I think there's something of that, it says something about the culture of the church, the culture of the organization. When an organization gets behind something like that and says, this is what we're about.
Yep.
And
So we're looking at the third week of June or the fourth week. Do we have a preference?
We asked them.
we have.
Ask them.
Is that something you're doing? Is that something, David, you're doing? I don't know.
You,
I think, I'll do that.
yeah, we need to request that time.
And are you also in communication with Adam then to
Yeah.
finalize a date when he might be able to come?
Yes, he's
'Cause I think-
working on his 2023 24.
Yeah.
I've done that all day.
Okay.
I lost a year today. His 2024 calendar, and he'll let me know when because he's got, he's got to be savvy about his rotation, his direction. Yeah.
California.
Yeah, so, but he will be here in April and, or in the spring to talk to us, since this is a bigger commitment.
Do you all know who, you know him?
No.
But John Williams just made this suggestion of David Grimman.
Prairie Baptist
Although
Church.
he's a Prairie Baptist, I still say there are a lot of graduate students up to Acadia.
Yeah, okay,
It wouldn't cost us much to do that.
good, all right. Any comments from the online gallery there? You guys wanna?
Questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Keep your boys interested. We'd like to have them go along and.
Yeah, I think Caleb's a strong possibility, but he's probably going to be a later addition if he goes, because he's potentially going to go on a mission trip with his church down where he goes to college. They're very active on mission trips every year. So if this trip interferes with that one of his trips there, then he wouldn't go to this one.
Yeah.
Tell Andrew to talk to Ethan.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
only way.
Andrew's kind of on the fence a little bit, so I don't know. I'm not sure about him.
They'll talk each other out.
Well, Ethan's already said his answer, but we might be able to sway him.
We haven't sent Steve after him yet.
I wish that, we said this when we were at the mentor meal, was those of us who've done these types of things, how life-changing it can be. So get him out of the comfort zone is critical.
I wonder if I should get a couple of these, especially the ones that went on the Waco trip, to come and talk.
Why? So.
Because that was a profound trip. It made an impact on all of the kids that went. They still talk about it. That was, I don't know how many years ago. But I mean,
Caitlin,
because
right?
they were truly outside their comfort zone on that trip.
Yeah, it was.
And,
Caitlin and, it was that group, it was Caitlin's group.
Yeah.
It was Caitlin's group, yes.
Yeah, Caitlin and Derek.
With that, and they went to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, Caitlin went from, because of that, with Ottawa, they had the traveling ambassadors program, and she and 3 kids did that for a summer.
Yeah.
Because of her work with some of the mission groups.
I mean, it's just a way to
Yeah,
talk to the kids. I mean, that was,
yeah.
not international, but it was truly, those kids, we were truly outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
In that
All
trip.
right. Nancy, we haven't heard from you. Would you like to say something profound yet?
No, I'm enjoying listening. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
That's fine.
Matthew or John, anything to say? Thanks for being here. Matthew?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I don't have much. I do think, I think that there's interest, right? It's just at what capacity and what that looks like. And I think based on, updated surveys, we'll know more about that. And once we have a finalized date to get more definitive, investing.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us online, and thanks for everybody here.
Should we end in prayer?
Let's do. Would you like to pray, Tim?
Lord, we are your children, your servants, and we want to do your work. We just ask your blessing on each person here, each person involved, each person we contact, just to make this happen, this grand plan that we have. We just ask that you lead, guide, and direct us every step of the way. And we give thanks for that in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Just FYI.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, thanks for meeting us, guys.
Bye.
Chiefs and the Jayhawks lost. This is like a bad